Yeah, today we'll be discussing about SOQL. SOQL is a Salesforce object query language, and it's a language that we can use to get record data from Salesforce. As you can see, these are the records. If you want to query these records and get these records in the coding in the Apex code in the backend, then you can use a SOQL. Okay, let's see how we can query. Let's go to the developer console. Using the select, and then you mention the fields that you want. For example, if I want the name field and the email field, and you mention the object from which you want to query. Okay, I want to query the name and email from contact. So here is a list of records with the name and email. Now you can also use suppose if I wanted only the records where the first name is Stella. I want only the record of Stella. I don't want other record. Then we can use with this query, you just have to put a where and the condition. First name Stella. Now click on execute. You'll get only the record Stella. So where condition can be used if you want to set some condition based on which you want the records to be retrieved, then you can use where condition. In where condition, you can use and or in and along with the where condition. Suppose if I want records where first name is Stella and if there were, let's see what are all the records for that. First name is Stella and should match both the condition, and the last name only if it satisfies both the condition, then you'll get the record. And the last name is see, this record matches both the condition. The first name is also satisfied, the second condition is also satisfied. Suppose if you want Stella and John, you want either of these records, then I can mention or either of which. First name, it would be Andy. If first name is Stella or if first name is Andy, I want those records to be queried. Then you can use or condition. And the other one is you can use in, where either of the condition is satisfied, like first name in Stella Andy, and let's put one. The one which is not there would be James. Let's execute. Okay, then find James. If either of the condition is satisfied, it'll get those records. That is in. If first name is Stella, Andy, or if James was there, it would have shown James as well. Okay. Now here we got around 19 rows. Suppose if I didn't want all the 19 rows, I want only 5 rows. So then what can we do? We can use limit 5. Now it will only show 5 records. Okay, now this is not in the order, it's not in ascending order, not in descending order. There's no particular order. Suppose I want it to be in return the results in a particular ascending order. We can use order by order by, let's order it by name, and we'll do it in ascending order. Let's keep the limit as 5 only. Let's keep it the limit 5 for 5 records. As you can see, now it's in the ascending order. You can see all A's are first and then it's followed by B. Suppose if I wanted a descending order, you just have to mention descending. Now Barber, okay, since it's limit 5, so each time the records that is being fetched will be different. See, now Tom is in the beginning and Stella is at the end. Suppose if you want nulls, if there is any null value, it should come in the first or last. I mentioned that also. I name, there's no null value, but email, by email, let me make it nulls. See, nulls first. You can also put it in the last. You have to mention nulls last. Null is at the last. Okay, and then let's see how if we can create SOQL queries in Apex class. So this is all we are running the query in the query editor. But in real scenario, you would be required to run a query in the Apex class or in the backend. So let's see, new Apex class. So let me name it okay, and what shall we do? We'll have a method here that we can call it. Okay. So now if I want to fetch those records or run those query, we need a list. We have to put it in the list. So let's create a list. So now here I want to query the list of contacts. So I want to query first name and last name contact. Okay, close this way. You need a list to store all these records. So now if you want to iterate through this list, you need a for loop. So let's get for loop just want to display it. Last name. Yeah. Is con dot name and system event. Full name. Okay, we're gonna save it. Problem. Okay, so the spelling is wrong. Okay, now let's run this. Continue. Dot. Now click on execute. Check the debug log. See, now you can get the first name and the last name. This is how you can query records in Apex classes by using a list where you can put all the records and a for loop to iterate through those records. So next, this is from a single object. If there is two objects which are related through, there is a parent and child relationship between those objects, then how do we query those objects? Let's see an example of a standard object. So let me open the schema. We already have a account and contact object. For before going on creating a relationship queries with an object, first you have to understand the type of relationship and who is the parent and who is the child. As you can see, account is the parent object and contact is the child object here. Account is a parent object and contact is the child object. So when you're creating a relationship query from a child to a parent, the query is different, and when you create a relationship query between a parent to child, then how you make the query is different. So for now, first let's see how to create a child to parent query. So now we are querying on a child object. So I want to query from account object. From account object, I want to query a field from a child to parent object. Now, suppose if I want the contact is the child here. Now I want to do a query. So I want to fetch a field from account from the contact object. So how do we query it from child to parent? Let's go to the query editor. So here we have name, Okay, now I want to get the account name associated with it. Then you have to give account dot name from contact. Then you can, this is from the child, because here you have a child object. This is from child to parent. Okay, now if I want to get the child related fields records, but the object that you're querying is a parent object. Suppose this one is a account object. How do we query that? Select we are querying it from a parent object, so this is from parent to child. Then how do? We do a subquery. Select One important thing is the relationship name that we have to mention here. It's not contact, it's contacts. How do we move to all contacts from this? Edit object. Fields and relationship. Open the account. This is the one which has a lookup. The child relationship name, it says contacts. So that's why when doing a subquery from parent to child, we have to use contacts. That's why we use contacts here. Then execute it. See, now you can get from the parent account name is Beeps, and it doesn't have any associated contact, whereas here Edge Communication has an associated contacts. That's what we can see. Now we took an example of a standard object, whereas in a custom objects there's slight differences. Now let's see if you want to do a relationship query between a custom object. For custom objects, let's take a property and a broker, and let's see what is the relationship that they have. Okay, who is the parent and who is the child? Here broker is the parent and property is the child object. And let's create a child to parent query. I want to query it on the property, but I want to fetch fields from the broker. I want to fetch a broker name. Now then in that case, let's see how to do it. Here the see. Now I want to fetch some fields like address. Let it be address. And from the property, I want to find the broker name. Here is the broker that is being created. Let's go to the property object and property object, fields and relationship. Broker. Now if I want to get this broker name, then we have to use broker, not underscore underscore c, but it is underscore underscore r. What is the field that I want? I want the name. Here is how you get from for a custom object. This is how you query from child to parent. Here the child object is property and the parent object is broker. Now if I want to query from parent to child, let's query only the name, and here let's query the address. But what should we give here? From the previous standard object, we just gave contacts, but it's not here. You cannot use property. Let's see what is the name. We have to check here. Child relationship name is properties. Take the properties. Properties. Execute. Properties. Underscore R. For custom object, you have to use underscore underscore R. There you get from the parent object, that is broker, you're getting all the properties associated with it. And the next topic is when you're querying in a Apex class, bind variables is very important. Suppose as we saw the example of contact, list of contact contact list. And then this is a simple query. You have put the first name as Stella, but this cannot work in a real situation where you can't manually type in whatever the condition. Suppose in future, if I don't want only the records for Stella, I want also the records for John, then you can't go in the code and keep changing. So in that case, we need bind variables where based on the UI, you can change it. So bind variables can be used to tailor your code and modify the input where to modify the input so that you can query the result based on the input that you give. So here I can give and give it like this. This could be through a UI input. Then here, instead of giving equals, I should be giving like this. As you can see, we have Stella. This is how you can bind the variables. This is column. You have to use column when you want to bind the variables. And one more important topic with respect to SOQL is that you can use aggregate function. Aggregate functions are nothing but count. You can count the number of rows that are associated with the field. There are count distinct, which can count you the distinct number of rows, and min, max, average, and there's one more sum. Let's see an example for each of these. Suppose if I wanted to count the number of brokers, then what is that I can do? Go to query editor, and the broker, count the number of brokers. Then execute. This will give you the count. There are totally 8 brokers. And suppose you want to know the distinct records, then you can use count distinct. Now if I want to know the distinct cities that are being listed in the properties, I can give it like this. See, there are 3 distinct cities that are being listed. You can also do like min and max, minimum value of a field and maximum value of a field, average values that is being returned, and sum returns the total value of a field. Okay, let me show you an example for let's say we want to see how many days the property has been on the market. Minimum is 9 days. If I want to know max, just put max. Maximum is 56 days. If I want the sum, if I want the average, average is 38. But one more thing, when we are using an aggregate functions like count, max, min, and average, we cannot use where condition. We have to use a having. Suppose I want to put some condition on this aggregate result, then I have to use having, not having clause, not the where clause. Let's see an example for that one. So suppose I want the I want to group the property by the brokers, and then I want to know the max of the status, whether it's closed. The status is closed. I want to put a condition if the status is closed and want to see the max of it. I've given the properties that are in the status closed, and the properties are grouped by. So you cannot use where clause here, you have to use the having clause. I'm putting a condition where max of status is closed and it should be grouped by the brokers, and each property should be grouped by the brokers, and the max in the status should be closed. Okay, that's the basics for SOQL. Thank you everyone.